8 bananas is pretty good. How did we get here? And surely there's more bananas hiding somewhere in this game. This was supposed to be an easy challenge, something I can do with half a brain cell where normally I would use at least 4. But it turns out that stacking bananas in this game is actually rocket science. It doesn't sound that hard. We need to find the one terrible banana at the start, and then we need to crush him to dust as soon as possible, because this will allow the much cooler banana to exist in the game. And this might offend the banana gods, but they haven't really been favoring me anyway. But the banana, in the grand scheme of this game, is actually awful. We have all these strong, beefy jokers in the cool seeds, but for every banana we grab, we have to sacrifice a useful joker. So the harder the game gets, the worse my build is. So the banana curse is strong. At least he finally exploded. That's the first problem. We have to deal with the immortal banana boy who just refuses to die, even though that's the one thing that science requires of him. So here we have a very strong start. I have some negatives that are actually useful. We can pop the invisible boy, maybe another banana. No, blueprint, that's fine. But it's taking me until 11 to even have 2 bananas, and we have to keep digging for more natural negatives, why not? And 1 more banana. I have to already stab a brainstorm boy to make room for this guy. And if we have to dig very deep in the shop, do we even want those bananas? They're like under a pile of 250 jokers. They are just crushed to a fine paste already from the start. No wonder the banana build is so terrible. So one of the main things I'm thinking about here is that I need something to get score that's not reliant on jokers. So I set up a duplicate of many vouchers, hoping to get the observatory, because with Perkio we could clone Plutos, for example, and we could have our multiplier from the consumable pile, which can be infinitely big with negative consumables. So when we eventually have nothing but bananas, the most glorious setup of all time, we don't care, we can just score off planets. But if I don't find that one specific voucher, that entire plan is doomed. And maybe trading your Baron for a banana is actually the worst trade deal of all time. And we don't need to do more science on the trade deal, because just look at the score. So we engaged at least another 2 brain cells, and we go again. New seed, new plan. We have basically an instant banana here, and I'm thinking I can print cash with lucky cards and the negative dice. We also get the coolest banana of all time. Nice. But now I'm thinking I can use negative jokers, maybe, and use a lot of money to re-roll the shop. So if we have, for example, there's 5 bananas around ante 11 to 14 or whatever. If I just have the money to get them all in a short span of time, I won't have to play any hands, and then my joker setup doesn't matter. Now I did commit a horrible act of blasphemy, skipping the coolest banana of all time. But we have a bit of a big brain approach here. First, we set up the negative tag on the mime. We can move to kings for score, and now the mime does not take up a slot. So it's a setup so we can dig for more bananas. I have not forgotten the bananas, even though there's a whole lot of "that's not a banana" going on here. Patient monkey, get more banana later. Probably. So is the monkey brain capable of understanding long-term investment? Or is just 1 banana now infinitely better than 7 bananas later? But this is at least very good banana scouting. We now know roughly where they are. We can dig them up. But I'm now also questioning, what am I re-rolling for? Bananas, blueprints? I can't fit anything into this pile of jokers that I now have. Are the bananas rotting, or is it just my brain cell? We really need some negative bananas. That's the plan with the double tags. We have a nice selection of negatives with the blueprint. We have the card sharp if we play more hands. But we don't have the 2 that matter, Showman and the Baron. The mime is basically just a court jester for the Baron. So without the Baron, he has no one to perform his tricks for. Instead, he's just a sad excuse of an insane man miming it up in an alley somewhere with his perfectly real ghost friends. The score is at least fine, but I think that's just carried by the enormous cat for now. 61 multiplier is not the worst I've ever seen. And we get a reroll voucher, so we're now not just instantly dead to the plant. That's amazing. We can maybe make this happen. And a surprise egg. Why do we need bananas to fight poker battles when we can just make pancakes out of the egg and the banana? We just need to find our least favorite joker and grind him down into flour, corpse flour for heavy metal pancakes. And I don't even want to think where the milk is going to come from. I made a questionable trade earlier, but I've also now traded my cat for a single banana. The things you do for science. And I'm going to have to make a hard choice again. I have 2 jokers I can sell to make space, but I very much need the showman because else I would be carrying 5 illegal bananas and the Balatro police would kick my door in. And I would be the next experiment. So 6 is the limit here because we're out of slots. We also have what I would like to call theoretical bananas. Because what is a blueprint anyway? It's a joker cosplaying as another joker. So we just force them to pretend to be bananas, and through lies and cheating we have a better result. The faster we can start printing cash and other useful tarot cards, the better. So Emperor in Ante 1 landing a Hermit is incredible. We then pick up our good friend Perkio. We have a negative blueprint, so just roll in the cash, doubling my $1 initially. But we needed something else. Right, the banana, that's the plan. Sure, I remember. Kill all the bananas. I do also have one kind of new tech here that I learned from Reddit. So, Plasma deck is better for score, but Ghost deck has the cool spectral cards that we can dupe with Perkio. Adding this guy, we can pick up spectral cards in our consumable slot that we can then dupe with Perkio. And because we already have Perkio, we can clone 6s, which we need for this guy to work. So it's not a very reliable strat, but the idea here is that we force this guy to spawn cards. We hope we get a cryptid, which I then dupe with Perkio. And I can then use my cryptid stack when I have to sell all my blueprints, because instead of just reactivating the Baron, we simply add more kings to the hand. And we should be fine, assuming we can clone the right cards. But then we need to juggle multiple cards, and I have now run out of cash, so again, we have to go one more time and get this right. I tried printing tarot cards, which is useful because if we get what we need sooner, again, we can just turn the deck into what we want. I picked up a load of invisible jokers, none of which do anything useful whatsoever, just cloning things I'm not going to use. I put all re-triggers on the mime with golden cards to print even more money, because we do have to dig like 300 or 400 cards deep in some of these shops only to find the elusive banana paste that we are after. So cash is looking a lot better. We also have a nice stack of cryptids, so we can now pick up whatever we want and we should still be fine for score. We only need to keep the Baron and then we trade him for the last banana we want. I still think an observatory seed would have been better, but the bananas are the bane of my brain. I've done enough looking for this kind of stuff. A double negative tag should be enough. Yeah, we get a free bus with our banana. But that was only like 3 jokers in between this banana and the next, so could we come back with even more negative tags and get 2 bananas for the price of 1? 2 negative beautiful fruits. Now that's a dream. My dreams are haunted by bananas and that spectral card guy. Now I'm thinking if we could make him print an ectoplasm. And I did drag him from ante 8 all the way up to 18, playing a 6 every single round, and I got just that one cryptid. That was the only useful thing he dropped. But if we could spawn an ectoplasm somehow, we could just pick up a banana, force it to be negative, pick up the next banana, and you get the deal. Because ante 18 I think had 5 bananas in the same shop. It's wild. By going further, all I did was I went to 22 instead of 18, only to still have to trade my Baron for a banana. So what a waste of time. At least we have a better collection, but now I've seen the light, I've seen the solution, and it requires probably the Ghost deck, because that purple-brained boy is absolutely useless. An ectoplasm in the shop, a reliable card, good old Ghost deck, nothing beats that. Also more invisible jokers, and we actually get a banana, an invisible banana that had no right to exist, that we now have in this glorious stack of so far 3 bananas. Card sharp, I have no idea why, but it's by far the most common natural negative I find. Not bad, it's just I would like something else. A banana, preferably. Hopefully I've done this right, because we have 5 double tags. I'm re-rolling the shop up to where I think the first banana is. It should be accurate, you never know. So if we can set up the magic trick of the century, we should have 2 negative bananas. Which will still be super useful, because I can't just slap down all the ectoplasms now. I would have a negative hand size and we would explode just by looking at any random blind. Score is still fine. The bananas do basically nothing, but don't tell them. Let them think that they are the big, cool, important piece to making this build work. So we had 1 negative banana and we even have 1 spare negative tag. Wow. Now we just need to survive. Disaster. So that's a 1 in 1,000 chance. And not only that, it was one of the negative ones, of course. There is exactly 1 word in the entire English language, internet language included, that can describe what just happened.
Bruh. A few moments later.
We have arrived in the blessed ante with the fruit things. I don't even want to say the word anymore, it's been so much. But we have to dig through all these piles. Cash might be the biggest problem because it gets expensive quickly. I also only have a hand size of 3 now, so I wanted to play 1 or 2 rounds in between. Realistically, I can do 1. But resetting the rerolls, we can go further with the same amount of cash. So I had enough cryptids, but just barely, so we would not have been able to go any longer than this anyway. So now we just dig, and every time we would want to sell a Baron, we instead just make something negative. Realistically, it's going to land on the bananas. Maybe we will have only negative bananas by the end of this, and then do we even have any bananas at all? That's touching more on philosophy, and that's also not my thing. This is the end of the line though. This is where the science goes into negative bananas. Spending all the cash we have. I have some temperance cards. I can sell the ectoplasms that I'm not gonna need. And if we are incredibly lucky, maybe there's 1 more at the end of this. I haven't even checked. So normally when I check 300 cards deep, and I am beyond 300 cards here. So this is Uncharted banana waters. 11 bananas is not bad though. It's not quite enough to feed an army of 99 Jimbos, but I did make them fight anyway, so the winner can have the fruit bowl. If you want to see how Jimbo took over the entire Joker pile, check out this episode next. Thank you for watching.